Alright guys, welcome. In this video, I will be explaining why the generic ceiling height is a much more realistic goal to shoot for than the common genetic ceiling height for most of you on your weight training journey. Now, a brief explanation of what I mean by generic ceiling height. This is a term that I coined myself, and it refers to a combination of two parameters. Number one, a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23. Now, bear in mind, this parameter is much more important and much harder to achieve than the second one, which is number two, a body fat percentage of 10 to 15%. Now, it can be even lower than 10%, but in reality, it wouldn't matter so much. This parameter is much less important and much easier to achieve than the first one. If your stats fall under these two parameters, visually you will look like a very elite athlete, which is an incredible feat for 99% of the general public in terms of physique pursuit. In comparison, the so-called genetic ceiling height, aka the genetic limit, refers to a fat-free mass index of 25, with body fat percentage that can be as high as, say, 20%. Now, if your stats have reached this, there's no way to conceal the fact that you're absolutely jacked, whether in clothing or being naked. Well, if you are interested in achieving the genetic ceiling height, please stay tuned. The next video will talk about what it takes to achieve the genetic ceiling height. This video, however, is all about the generic ceiling height. Why the generic ceiling height is the common denominator among elite athletes. As I mentioned before, athletes, they train for sports performance, not physiques. Now, they could definitely try to put on more muscle mass if they want to, but if the actual muscle mass does not help them improve their sports performance, then rest assured, they will not try to put on more muscle. And for most power sports, the notion of optimal sports performance can be simplified as this: generating maximum power with minimum weight, which is also called power to weight ratio. From the standpoint of this power to weight ratio, an FFMI of 22 to 23 is generally the sweet spot. An athlete would have enough muscle mass to generate maximum power, but not too much weight to slow down his explosiveness. That's the real reason why elite athletes like Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Nadal, Michael Jordan, and Usain Bolt, they all have very similar fat-free mass indexes, and the real reason why all their physiques have this uniformly appeal to the general public. Once those elite athletes have reached this generic ceiling height, they were generally trying to maintain their muscle mass and stop trying to put on more muscle. However, please never underestimate what it took them to reach this generic ceiling height in the first place. What it takes for elite athletes to reach this generic ceiling height, and why is it so hard for you to reach it? In my eyes, there are four reasons to separate elite athletes from us, the general public. Number one, elite athletes have elite sports genetics, whereas most likely your genetics are only average. Now, first things first, there's no beating about the bush that elite athletes have elite sports genetics. Maybe their elite sports genetics do not necessarily pertain to elite muscle growth genetics, but most likely the muscle building genetics are still way above average, which is most likely the genetics that you have. So if elite athletes can only manage to maintain a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 with much better genetics, what makes you think that you can reach a similar fat-free mass index easily? Number two, elite athletes have elite work ethics, whereas most likely you only have average work ethics. There's one thing to be said about raw talent, and there's another thing to be said about work ethics. Raw talent without work ethics will not get you far. And without any doubt, all these elite athletes, they have elite work ethics. Although they're not directly training for muscle mass, they still train themselves to the floor every single time. And can you match their work ethics in your own training? Most likely not. So if elite athletes can only manage to maintain a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 after years of hard training, what makes you think that you can reach a similar fat-free mass index by half-assing it in the gym all the time? Number 3, elite athletes have elite nutrition, whereas most likely your nutrition is nowhere near their level. There's no secret that elite athletes nowadays are spending a lot of money on nutritionists to help them map out the best nutrition to support their sports performance. Most elite athletes, they eat 4 to 5 solid nutritious meals a day with high quality protein, high quality carbs, and lots of veggies, which is extremely close to the traditional bodybuilding nutrition. So, if elite athletes only manage to maintain a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 with rock-solid nutrition, what makes you think that you can reach a similar fat-free mass index by only eating 3 meals a day, not enough protein, and a lot of junk calories? Number 4, most importantly, elite athletes have elite consistency, whereas most likely your consistency is nowhere near their level. Kobe Bryant woke up at 4 a.m. to start his training of the day. Cristiano Ronaldo always drinks water instead of Coke. Rafael Nadal would never give up a point without a fierce fight. All these elite athletes, they dedicate themselves to their sport and plan their schedules around training, matches, nutrition, and recovery, day in, day out. Whereas you may be eating clean and training hard on weekdays, but having junk food and party all night on weekends. So, if elite athletes can only manage to maintain a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 with day-in, day-out dedication, what makes you think that you can achieve a similar fat-free mass index with your inconsistent dedication? In a nutshell, elite athletes, they maintain this generic ceiling height with elite sports genetics, plus elite work ethics, plus elite nutrition, plus elite dedication. The only drawback for them is that they're not directly training for muscle growth. Although that is a huge drawback, on balance, their muscle mass is still the ceiling height for almost everybody else, which is why I have coined this term the generic ceiling height. There's another very important reason why I have coined the term the generic ceiling height, because this is the ceiling height that most YouTube fitness channels can offer even after a decade of dedicated weight training. Now, no offense to any of these mainstream channels. As a matter of fact, I have huge respect for all of them, but the truth remains the truth. A fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 is the best end product they can offer, even after a decade of dedicated weight training. Anyway, let us just examine some of the biggest natural fitness channels there. Number 1, Athlean-X Jeff Cavalier, a channel of almost 14 million followers. Now, a big shout out to Jeff. When I first started my weight training, Athlean-X was the only channel that I would reference for a very long period of time. And I would still maintain that if you're a beginner, Athlean-X is probably still the best channel for you to follow if there's only one channel you can choose from. However, let us just examine Jeff's stats. At 5'10", 173 pounds at about 7% body fat. His fat-free mass index is about 23.13, which is definitely the high end of the generic ceiling height. Number 2, Built with Science, Jeremy Either, another big channel with more than 7 million subscribers. This is definitely another superstar in the fitness industry. Jeremy definitely left his own mark in science-based training community. I'm not so sure about his weight, but judging by the photos on the internet, I would say his fat-free mass index is hovering somewhere at low 22s, not reaching 23 yet. Number 3, Scott Herman Fitness, another channel with almost 3 million followers. Now, Scott is definitely considered as one of the OGs of online fitness, and he definitely deserves respect from anyone trying to follow his footsteps, me certainly included. Well, if you examine his stats, at 5'10", 180 pounds, about 10% body fat, his fat-free mass index is about 23.29. Very similar to Jeff Cavalier, but still very close to the generic ceiling height. Number 4, Sean Nanuwaji. I tried my best to pronounce this name, hope I didn't butcher it. This is another channel with more than 1 million subscribers. Now, Sean is another influential figure in the fitness industry. His channel also features science-based training. So what about his stats? At 5'9", 175 pounds at about 10 to 12% body fat, his fat-free mass index is hovering somewhere just about 23. So, as you can see, a fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 is the ceiling height that most mainstream fitness channels can reach. Bear in mind that all these guys, they have 10 years of training, dedicated training under their belt, and this ceiling height is still the best end product they can offer. Once you want to surpass this generic ceiling height, well, good luck. You have to be prepared to do some really deep digging into small niche channels. My channel, for example. Okay, for the most juicy part of the whole video, what if you want to reach this fat-free mass index of 22 to 23 in the fastest way possible? Well, you're in the right place, because that's what this channel is all about. Personally, I have managed to reach a fat-free mass index of 22.4 at 10% body fat in 2 years and 3 months. And it took me another 3 months to reach a fat-free mass index of 23.2 at about 16% body fat. So, if you are interested in achieving similar results within similar time frame, why not subscribe to my channel? It's free, it's easy, and maybe you will learn a thing or two on my channel. That's it guys for this video. Oh, before I go, please comment below how long did it take you to reach this generic ceiling height? Was it quick and easy for you? Was it slow and painful for you? I'd be interested to see your response. Alright guys, I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.